We'll now bring the August 7th, 2024 City Council meeting to order. Call upon the city attorney. Is there any reportable action?
No reportable action, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Berwin Hanna.
Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have the invocation by Associate Pastor Lazaro Santiago, Beacon Hill Assembly of God. Good evening, sir. I don't think we've met before. Welcome.
Peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God, our Savior. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our city. Thank you for our elected and appointed officials, the businesses, the churches, the families, and the individuals that make our city the great place that it is. I pray for this council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. Almighty One, I thank you for this meeting today. Lord, there is an agenda, and we ask that your Holy Spirit lead and direct all discussions that take place during this council meeting. I pray that you will use the skills and abilities within each of our council members and participating citizens to accomplish the task set before us. Help us to remain positive in all decisions made and to maintain peace and goodwill towards each other. God bless our great city of Norco. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. I'm going to bring up Joe Holtzbaugh. Joe here tonight? There you go.
All right. So I'm president of Norco Horse Week. We wanted to, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present some checks, ceremonial checks, to some of our larger donations we were fortunate enough to be able to contribute to this year. For those of you who don't know, Norco Horse Week is a nonprofit organization. We're run by volunteers, strictly volunteers, and everything that, excuse me, that we make and don't reserve back to run our event for the next year, we donate back out to local city organizations and some of the city departments itself. We could not do this event without the help of the city and the city council and most importantly, our volunteers. So I won't take up too much of your time, but if I could have up Melvin Sparks, please. He'll be accepting on behalf of Animal Control and NART. How you doing? Good, good. So we were able to donate $10,000 to the animal shelter and $4,000 to NART. You get both. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. All right, next, could I please have the representative for Norco Seniors and Pets? So would you like to say a little bit about your organization? What you guys do?
Norco Seniors and Pets has been around Norco since 1989, and we help low-income seniors here in town. We help them with food, we help them with pet expenses, we get donations of dog food, and just try to help them out. Thank you.
So as you can see, a very worthwhile organization, so we always like to give what we can. So we're proud to be able to donate, I believe it was $10,000, right, to the Norco Seniors and Pets.
check. I always see him put that through the ATM.
Thank you very much.
Thank
This will
you.
go good news.
Thank you. Thank you for all you guys do. All right, if we could have, please, a representative for the Senior Center, it's Alejandra Gonzalez and Cindy Garcia. So Senior Center's always been an important organization for Horse Week, right? Everybody gets old. It's nice to give somewhere for everybody to go and enjoy. So we were lucky enough to be able to donate $10,000 to the Senior Center this year. Thank you. And last but not least, we have FFA. So FFA, every year, I've been a part of Horse Week now for the better part of 20 years. And for as long as I've been around, I've known they've helped. They've been a huge help, and they increase every year. So we're happy to be able to donate $10,000 to the FFA this year. Thank you. So that's all I have for this year. We did donate to several other organizations that helped us, but I don't want to take up your whole night. Thank you for allowing us to present those, and I look forward to next year.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. So now we're going to call upon Director Hamilton, City of Norco Mounting Block Pilot Project.
Good evening, City Council. So tonight I have a presentation on the horse mounting block pilot project in our city parks. You work good? Great. Thank you. This year, the city has aligned with the community-based initiative Norco Mount Up Mission 2024. This initiative advocates for placing safe mounting platforms in local parks and business centers. Maria Pache and Kim Adams have spearheaded this initiative, and while they are working on having donated mounting blocks installed at private businesses, they have asked the city to add these amenities to our public parks. Installing mounting blocks in areas where riders normally dismount and mount can increase usage of Norco's trails and parks. Many riders have difficulty getting on and off a horse and will search out large rocks, stumps, picnic tables, and anything to give themselves a boost, which sometimes can be unstable or slippery. Since this is Horsetown USA, it's only fitting that we advocate for our riders, and the city has allocated funding for this project as part of fiscal year 24-25. For this pilot project, $20,000 has been allocated to install ADA-compliant horse mounting blocks. With this being a pilot project, we are going to be installing 4 ramps this year, and we'll monitor the usage of those ramps along with maintenance factors. Depending on the pilot project's outcomes, the city may program additional funding for other parks and facilities in future years. Each ramp will cost about $5,000 and will be installed by city crews. It is important to note that this pilot project was brought to the Parks and Rec Commission on June 10th for review and discussion. Staff received positive feedback from the commission and has been working with Handy Ramp on an amenity that would also be ADA accessible. The pilot project locations include Corydon Staging Area, Pacer Park, Hawkscrest Park, and Norco Hills Park. Placement of these mounting blocks would sit adjacent to any holding pen or arena. And with that, if you have any questions, but I would also like to bring up Maria and Kim just to say hello to the council and talk about an exciting reveal that they have this weekend at Grocery Outlet.
Thank you. I'm Kim. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry. Maria got helping somebody in distress. So you got Kimmergy right here.
I'm going to bottle you. I've decided I'm going to bottle that energy and sell it.
Amen. Thank you. And blessed by the Holy Spirit and Jesus. Thank you. Oh gosh, you know what? It all started with a dream. It's on a saddle talk. Maria and I, one day in December, were taking a ride, and she's got some handicap disabilities, and she rides a 17-hand thoroughbred. And whenever she gets on her horse at home, she uses her mount up to get on safely. And she always prays that nothing happens where she has to get off her horse and find something like she was saying, which isn't safe. And so especially we were riding by the parks, and she's like, oh my gosh, sometimes I got to go potty, but I can't get back on my horse. So we got talking, and I thought, I bet you if it's not her, there's got to be more people like you out there. So we got off our ride and ran in the house, and I grabbed my husband, Peter Babos, and right over there, and I said, you got to make a video. We're going to get this out on Facebook, and we're going to hashtag Kevin Bash. And that's how it started.
Many times.
Don't give up on your dream. Big time, right? Big time. So I am just honored. Who would know that this little idea that we had would be here today? And it branched off, to the private sector as people are paying for these beautiful wood mount ups. Our first one was set up in July at Mavericks. We're having our second one, this installation, this Saturday at Grocery Outlet. And and just the backup, and just so many people on Facebook just like, we love that idea, we want more, can you put one here, can you put one there? And just like, it's just so amazing. I'm just honored that God put that inspiration in our minds, and we just didn't give up, and hashtag you. So anyways, thank you so much, and I hope everybody can make it out Saturday 10 a.m. Grocery Outlet. And then we're moving up to Boot Barn, and just all the way up 6th Street, and then Stater Brothers on Cordon and River. And there she is right here. She made it. But anyways, thank you so much, and we'll have a mount up everywhere in Norco. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Amanda, where'd Amanda go? Amanda, thank you and your staff for making this happen. This is really it's one of those unique Norco wins, so thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I got a question.
Yep.
The ramps, are they made out of aluminum?
Yes, they are.
Are they going to be slip-proof on the?
Yes, they do have some grit to them, and they're made specifically for this type of application in parks and in trails. They will have a grit to them on the ramp area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Congratulations. So next, I'm going to call upon Isabel Heinrichsen and Jamie Shin for the Read to Ride program. How are you, young lady? I haven't seen you in a long time. Nice to see you. Do you know the lady at the end?
No, not at all. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Isabel Henriksen, but I do go by Izzy. When I joined, so I kind of had this idea of joining the Norco Fair Committee, and I thought, what new ideas can I bring to the Norco Fair Committee? I knew other fairs that did this reading program, and from there, I brought it up to the Norco Fair Committee. So far, we have one sponsor. Thank you, Woody. This is our pilot year for this program. So basically the idea is the kids read, they write a summary, and they get ride tickets in return. Now I'll go ahead and hand it over to Jamie so she can explain more detail on that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie Shin. I'm the branch manager for the Eastville and Norco libraries. On behalf of the library, we are very thankful for this opportunity to give you all a brief overview on the online platform Beanstack, which Read to Write is held on. The Riverside County Library System is currently using,
Do me a favor, can you talk right into the
right into the
directional?
mic?
There you go.
Gotcha. The Riverside County Library System is currently using Beanstack to hold multiple reading challenges throughout the year, including the current collaboration between the Norco Library and the Norco Fair called Read to Write. Beanstack is an online program where our library patrons are able to create accounts to participate in the reading challenges our system has published. Our patrons, also known as readers, participate in these challenges by logging their reading activity and completing tasks, either through the Beanstack app or the website. More specifically, our readers interact with Beanstack by being able to choose which reading challenges they'd like to register for. Readers earn points and badges by completing the required activities determined by the associated challenges. These activities can include submitting a book summary and logging their total minutes of reading. Beanstack tracks the reader's progress and allows library staff to issue awards corresponding to their participation. The Norco Fair Read to Ride program, like Izzy had explained, is our first branch-specific challenge on Beanstack. Read to Ride will be active until August 16th and is available to our Norco patrons. Read to Ride encourages readers from preschool to 6th grade to write book summaries in exchange for ride tickets and a free shaved ice from Woody Shaved Ice. To earn ride tickets, each book summary will earn them an increasing number of free ride tickets. For example, readers that submit 1 book summary will earn 2 tickets, 2 will earn 3, and so on until they've submitted up to 8 summaries, which is rewarded by 10 ride tickets. A free shaved ice kind of follows the same rule where they'll the shaved ice will increase in size depending on the book summaries they submitted. So 1 to 2 will earn a small one, and the jumbo free shaved ice is the range between 7 to 8 book summaries. So yeah, readers are then able to pick up their ride tickets and free shaved ice at the Norco Fair by using their first and last name at a designated Read to Ride check-in area. Currently, we have a total of 52 participants and a total of 120 badges earned. 55 book summaries have been submitted and 13 participants have completed all their activities. My reports share that the age groups with the most participants are between 7 to 8 years old, and the majority of our patrons are Norco patrons, but local participants have joined the challenge from nearby branches like Eastvale and Home Gardens, but they're all within the same county system. The future of Beanstack is full of upcoming reading challenges and programs. The Riverside County Library System has reading challenges available on Beanstack year-round for patrons for all ages to participate in. We welcome any future collaborations as we work to serve our growing community at the Norco Library. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? This is wonderful. This is really wonderful. Is there some way we can get this out to, I think we need to put this on our website and maybe put it on our Norco app and that kind of thing. This is wonderful.
Thank
It's
you.
nice to see you're doing great things still. I remember you when you were little. Any questions, comments? Well, thank you.
Has a little goodie bag.
Yeah, I saw, yeah. Yeah,
And you
golden,
get a golden ticket from Woody's.
I see
We're
that.
hoping next year we'll get a couple more sponsors. The fair is paying for the ride tickets this year, so we're looking into getting sponsors to pay for those ride tickets, so that way it's not completely coming out of our pockets.
Yeah, go great. Thank you. All right,
Thanks so
next
much.
up. We have one other thing that we need to do. Is the lieutenant here? Can you come on up here? I'm gonna rub it in. So just so we're all clear. I did not win. I was the champion cow patty thrower for the first 2 years, and Newton couldn't stand it. So he brought a ringer this year, and I would have won. So with great reluctance, I have to give you the Cow SHIT Throwing Contest Award. But no, it was a ringer, an ex-minor leaguer. I know. And tell him, we used to want him back in Norco, but not anymore. I'm kidding. Anyway, please display that proudly, and you'll notice on the top there's a little C, stands for cops. And we want you to know how proud we are of you, even when you throw shit. I'm gonna get in so much trouble from my wife.
Lieutenant, if you would tell Andy that C does not stand for cops, it stands for Cubs,
Oh.
at his request.
Riverside County deputies are not losers, it's cops. All right, moving on. We'll have city council reports on regional boards. Councilman Grunmeyer.
Nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Alleman.
Yes, on July 18th, I attended the Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District Board of Trustees meeting, and just a couple points out of that meeting. In terms of West Nile, the district only reports when mosquitoes are found that have West Nile in our county. Any reports of humans who have been infected would come from the County Department of Health. And so you can check their website. They have a social media and an Instagram. This year in the state, I think there's only been 2 cases, and they did just find a first pool that had West Nile in our county. And then they'll base their treatment plans based on that. And then the second is that we have hired a new general counsel, and so we will begin working on our strategic plan, one of which is to continue to be proactive and protect the health of the public when it comes to mosquitoes and vector-borne diseases.
Councilmember Hannah.
Yeah, tonight I want to read this about Joe Tavallone. He was a longtime member of just about every transportation commission that there was in the state of California. In July, he just celebrated his 101st birthday. And up until just a few months before that, he was as sharp as anybody. And a pleasure to talk to him. I knew several members of his family and everything, but he joined the California Transportation Commission in 2002 and retired in July of 2024. And he had over 20 years of transportation and over 50 years in construction. And he helped RCTC receive state funding for a lot of major projects, including the widening of the I-215, State Route 91, I-15, and State Route 60. And Senator Roth is preparing a resolution to dedicate the 60, 91, 215 interchange in his name. But I remember I hadn't seen him in several years, and when we did the groundbreaking on the express lanes of the 15 freeway over here, well, he walked up and started talking just like we'd seen each other the day before. He never forgot people, and he was quite a gentleman, and it's sad that he's passing, but it's a good deal that they're going to name that interchange after him over there. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Sir. Greg?
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, had board meeting, Chino Basin Desalter Authority Board of Directors meeting. I was going to do a riveting report on the Chino Basin plume that we spend a lot of time working on, but I'm going to put that off, and I'm going to show a little video. This was an item we went over at our meeting. It's done by JCSD, and then I'm going to ask our fire chief, with your permission, Mayor, to speak on this. But this has to do with an article that I read here a little bit ago about helipods and helihydrants. And I'll ask the chief to touch on it, but we've had discussions on moving forward with wildlife, wildland protection. Chief will touch on that. Go ahead and play that. It's only 2 minutes.
At Harupa Community Services District, we pride ourselves on being regional leaders in the services we provide. Every day, JCSD provides essential services for our community, and our commitment to innovation and community safety is stronger than ever through JCSD's Helihydrant Project, designed to bolster our community's fire response and public safety. The Helihydrant is a game changer in our emergency response strategy and is the first of its kind in the Inland Empire region. Each helihydrant is a 15-foot wide, nearly 10,000-gallon tank designed to expedite the water collection process for firefighting helicopters.
Each helihydrant is a little different. This particular one takes about 7 minutes, and it'll fill up to the top.
Situated strategically in fire-prone areas, these helihydrants are constructed to integrate seamlessly with JCSD's existing water systems. When a fire breaks out, the JCSD helihydrant quickly fills when activated by an approaching firefighting helicopter, providing a valuable water source that saves critical time in the battle against fire. When a fire emergency erupts, firefighters can rely on JCSD's helihydrant to be ready for action.
It allows for us to get water on the fire's edge as quickly as we can.
In the summer of 2024, we celebrated a major milestone with the inauguration of the first JCSD helihydrant in service, located in Harupa Valley's Country Village neighborhood, helping firefighting efforts in the area.
We initiated a discussion with CAL FIRE and said, hey, can we look at doing a project like this over in JCSD area?
Through forward thinking and long-term planning, the JCSD helihydrant project will install a total of 4 helihydrants across JCSD's service area in Eastvale and Harupa Valley, ensuring robust coverage and protection for our region. With the helihydrants, JCSD is not just helping fight fires, we're building resilience and safeguarding our community's future for generations to come. To learn more about our innovative projects, programs, and community initiatives, visit jcsd.us.
Thank you. Mayor, this is something I'd like to, with your permission, to do some further research with staff and CAL FIRE. This was also, I believe it's paid through with a grant from Riverside County Flood Control. And I think something like this is very appropriate, especially for our area, and given what's going on recently. So, Chief, would you like to make a few comments briefly and explain it a lot better than I?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'd say about 2 years ago, JCSD approached myself and Chief Ike, and they were interested in putting in these helihydrants. So what we did is we teamed with them, and we went out to different locations within Harupa Valley and Eastvale. So the one you saw here is the first of 4 that are going in. That one's off of Country Village Road just north, and their next one's going to be in Eastvale down by the river bottom, and then a couple more along the river bottom in Harupa Valley. So we teamed with them. We had our pilots come out, and they cleared the areas, what's safe for them. And this product really is safe for our pilots, and that's one of the main reasons we did it. It's quick, easy access. They control it from the air to fill the device up, to fill the tank up, and then they can drain it after they leave, and water goes back down into the system. So it's really a great system. I'm an advocate for it. The more, the better for our pilots, the safer it's going to be for them. So if you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
All righty.
Chief, I appreciate it. Just one other comment, that it's controlled by the helicopter, but it ties to our SCADA system. And I think we have some ideal locations where this could be placed. So with your permission, Mayor, thank you.
Yes, please.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Anytime.
So a couple of things. The Western Regional Council of Governments, a couple of issues that we talked about. First off, we had a pretty interesting water presentation, that we have some water issues in Southern California. What was very interesting to me is that the Western Municipal Water Company director, I had gone on a water tour with him up to the Delta, and at that time he did not know how many houses we had to build in the area, and he said, oh, we have plenty of water for all the houses. He's changed his tune. He now realizes that the amount of houses that they want us to build, apartments, it's a real problem. And the reality is they're asking us to do, for all these houses they want us to build, we don't have enough water, we don't have enough, all kinds of stuff. So one of the things that at the end of this meeting I'm going to talk about is, I know it's an impossible task, but I'm going to talk about how do we truly beef up our recycled water program. So I'll talk about that. Catherine and I went to the Riverside City College District Trustees meeting. I'm going to basically there was a bond. Did you stay for the whole thing, Catherine? Did you stay to the end? They actually are going to pass a bond. It's one of the few bonds that I am actually supporting. We are hearing that there's going to be a lot of job loss in the state of California in the next coming year, hundreds of thousands of jobs maybe. We have people leaving, and they're saying kids that are 20 years old are probably going to have to learn skills all through their life. They predict they'll live to 100. And so junior colleges are an incredible way to retool. They're also an incredible way to get your first 2 years in. Whenever I see somebody from Norco College and they say, oh, I'm just going to Norco College, I say, that's great, that's fantastic. Your parents are going to love you because it's almost free. So I am going to support that particular bond. And then finally, I want to add this to the council. You've all been very supportive. We have been trying to expand the list to include the Navy base on the National Register of Historic Places. And after a lot of talk, we finally spoke to an expert attorney in preservation law. And I wish the heck we talked to this woman a long time ago. On February 2nd, 2018, we unanimously received approval to expand the National Register from the State Historic Preservation Commission. We didn't know this till we did FOIA requests, but the Navy opposed it, and they submitted in October of the same year a technical review that was just flat wrong. We didn't know about it. Ultimately, through a lot of gyrations, we didn't know until almost, in fact, 4 years later, that the keeper apparently agreed with the Navy, but she didn't actually deny our petition. She said, I'm making no judgment. Well, they had 45 days. It says nominations will be included in the National Register within 45 days of receipt by the keeper or designee unless the keeper disapproves a nomination, an appeal is filed, or the owner of the private property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Navy actually waited 3 years to tell us. The keeper almost 4 years to tell us. And it actually appears that if there's no decision, it has to be treated as if it's on the National Register. So at the end of this meeting, I'm going to be asking that we, along with the LNCF, who's agreed to co-partner with us, that we hire this attorney and make it known that this belongs on the National Register. If this is actually true, we've overcome politicians, we've overcome Navy bureaucrats, we've overcome. If this is as simple as it gets, I'm going to be really upset because I spent a lot of time on this thing. But 45 days is 45 days, and the soonest that the Navy notified anybody was 8 months later. So this may well be a huge win. And that's all I have. So moving on to the consent calendar, do council members have any items that need to be pulled?
Mayor, we're at public comments.
I have 3K, 3M.
Mayor, we are at the public comment, item number 2, not consent calendar yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, I apologize. Hold that thought, guys. I apologize. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is. This is the time when persons wishing to address the presiding governmental body regarding the consent calendar or matters not on the agenda may be heard. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. The governmental body shall not discuss or act relative to any general public comment. My first speaker is Dylan Wemple.
Hi, Dylan. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dylan Wimple, here as a resident of Norco. Ask the City of Norco to implement an organic, farm-friendly weed and pest management plan. Organic farmers are limited in the chemicals they can use on or near their farms, and the city's use of glyphosate and other similar products may overspray and jeopardize their organic certification, and many residents have worked hard to obtain this. I ask the city review organic alternatives and maintenance of our trails and public spaces, and utilize regenerative agriculture practices in weed and pest suppression. Integrated pest management and ground cover such as mulch can help maintain the health of our soils, and changes like these protect our small plot farmers, eliminating the risk of cross-contamination on their farmland and harvests. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Sergeant Eckhoff.
Are we supposed to salute?
I'm not a zero. Good evening to the City Council. I just wanted to thank the City of Norco, the City Council, the staff, Amanda over there, Lori, anybody else who was involved. We got a call for our brick table at the National Night Out. When was that, yesterday? Oh, man. And we were there from 2:30 till 8 o'clock at night. And Larry, how many people did we talk to? 67. We talked to 67 people. We're real picky about this. We always have somebody that clicks the amount of people that we talk to. But I just wanted to thank the staff. Amanda let me know about this, and we set it up almost immediately. And the staff came out there and set it up for us, and they took it down. And these people that do this get paid for it, and of course they should get paid for it, but that's not the point. It's their attitude. And I know I've talked about this before, but it's always their attitude. They do these things with a smile on their face. If we ask them, can we get another chair? They just run out and get another chair. They're so easy to work with, and it's like if they could do it, they would do it for free. I mean, this is how good they are. The other thing is that Lori introduced me to QR codes, which I have on my back. And anybody behind me thinking about what's that weirdo got to buy a brick on his back, you're more than welcome to come up behind me and take a picture of the QR code. And thank you again, Lori, for bringing this. You created a monster. I'm a QR code nut. The other thing is that I'd like to talk about is the fact that my wife and I, or myself, had decided that we're seniors. I know, really? I'm not a senior. So we went to always go to the senior breakfast, but we started going to Tai Chi. And we did Tai Chi, and we had, again, wonderful people over at the senior center. I know these things don't happen by magic. And I have our Tai Chi instructor, could you please stand? Cindy, wonderful lady, and we have a greeting that we do in Tai Chi, respect. And she puts up with us. I mean, we forget all these things. You say, oh, you're doing so great. And we know we just screwed up the whole farm and everything. But they have so many things. So we went on from Tai Chi to chair volleyball, which is crazy. If you stand up, you lose a point. But everybody just laughs the whole time. They have a newly formed chess club that Jordan runs. He's great. We do that. And
Sergeant Eckhoff, I hate to interrupt you. I can't believe you were tamed by the Tai Chi instructor over there, but you're out of time.
I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Alejandro, would you please let your staff know that you were complimented by a sergeant from the United States Marine Corps?
Our next speaker is Greg Bowen.
I'll make this short and sweet. For the Norco Rodeo this year, we're going to try something different on Sunday. I have contacted 4 different counties, and we're going to have law enforcement on horseback on Sunday, and we're going to have approximately over 100 law enforcement that actually are doing that for a living, coming to Norco and doing our grand entry. We've got San Bernardino County Sheriff, San Bernardino County Rangers, San Bernardino County PD, San Bernardino County Chino PD, LAPD I haven't got a complete number from them yet, but LASO, the Sheriff Department's coming, Orange County Sheriff Department's going, Anaheim, Irvine, Fullerton, Huntington Beach, and most of these people live in this town. Riverside, Chad Bianco's gonna be our Grand Marshal, and Corona PD and possibly Palm Springs PD is gonna be bringing horses. A quick breakdown of what we're gonna be doing. Everybody's gonna check in early on Sunday. They're gonna get saddled up, get their briefing. Then we're gonna do a small trail ride down 6th Street with approximately 100 horses. I have Saddle Sore Rider gonna come out, and just like they do their trail rides, that's all this is gonna be, is a trail ride. And we're gonna go down to Temescal, turn around and get all the bugs out of the horses. And then they're gonna come up and they're gonna line up, and the rodeo starts at 5, so approximately at 4:30, they're gonna be lining up in the back, and then we'll go ahead and proceed into the arena. And then after that, national anthem, the Queens, show the flag and all that stuff, they're gonna be dismissed. But what I wanna really capture on, it's the first time this has ever been done in California. We do it in Sacramento each year, sometimes with 70, sometimes with 100. It's phenomenal. We ride all through Sacramento. And you don't really realize how many horses are in Southern California that actually do law enforcement on horseback, and what better city to promote that or even show it off is at Norco. So we're gonna do that this year at the Norco Rodeo, September 25th. The rodeo's at 5 o'clock if anybody wants to show up. And that's all I got. And by the way, Amanda, Day of the Cowboy, awesome. And Berwin, those mounting blocks, those are made for just me and you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is John Quiros.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I appreciate your warmth of how you conduct these council meetings. They're a breath of fresh air.
Well, thank you.
Okay. My name is John Quiros, and I'm a future resident of Norco. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to address the city council. And let me start by saying the city is doing so much good work across the board. I agree 100% with the pastor that Norco is a truly great city. We love the traditional American values that Norco symbolizes. We embrace the city's love of horses, agriculture, and self-reliance. Norco embodies the small town American spirit that seems lacking throughout much of the state. We love this town, and we intend to call it home. With that being said, I'm here tonight to say my piece with respect to the 4030 Acacia home build. It's just down as you go north on Hamner, right by the gymnasium. It's the new corner house. It's gorgeous. I think you'll agree that it was built with love and pride and attention to detail. The problem you're going to hear about from the owner, Maria, who's going to speak after me tonight, is that after building plans were approved, corrections were given to the builder made those corrections. After the home was built, after multiple inspections, including 2 electrical inspections, after the inspection card was signed, the city has decided to change its enforcement of a 20-plus-year-old building code to require underground rather than above-ground power source. Obviously, this has added significant delays, costs, and not to mention heartache. I think folks have the common sense to know that changing the rules at the end of a game and to change the outcome smells to high heaven, whether it's legal or not. Ask yourself this question: why now? Why wait till the very end of the build? The city has asked, if the city had asked to change at the onset, this would have been done by now. Let me end by saying that the last hour changes to the build would seem to go against all the values that embody this great town. This is the sort of mess you'd expect other places, but not in Norco. Respectfully, I request the council's attention to this matter, and I appreciate your leadership to help the city come to a mutually agreed upon solution. Sincerely, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alma, so I'm assuming you'll reach out and, okay.
Our next speaker is Maria Fernandez.
Good evening, council members and mayor.
Good
Well, John
evening.
said it all. 4030 Acacia is a home I built with a lot of love for my family. We're all been trying to call Norco our homes. We got 3 homes under construction. My granddaughter starts school at Turning Point on Norco Street on the 12th. But now we're hoping to finish our home by, my daughter's home by July, but that didn't happen. My concern is, and I'm upset about it, because I feel like if this would have been given to me in the very beginning, of course, there was no question about. If it's underground requirements, that's underground requirement from power. We're not here to not do what we're supposed to do. But for God's sake, we got a panel that is put on the north side of the property. It looks like we don't even know what it's going to involve yet, because we were just told on the 25th of July that, it looks like you guys did not bring the power underground. Our rough electrical was inspected on December last year. Our service panel was inspected on July 1st. And after the service panel passed, obviously the next step is we continue calling so they can release these to the power company, so then Edison can power up so we can test fire sprinklers, the rest of the stuff, air conditioning and so on. So we're looking for a final towards the mid-July and July, so we're gonna kind of make that move. And now we're all stuck over here kind of crying and being upset and talking to different people at planning. I honestly feel like it's unfortunate that the planning department failed to notify us, even through the progress of, it would have been framing, okay. But I mean, when they passed these panels, these individuals saw that the electrical was fed through the overhead. Driving to Norco, I see a lot of properties that are newer, near built. I still see a lot of overhead, and I'm not here to argue who's doing, and that's really not my department. I'm glad to follow the rules. I've done this for the last 26 years. I built for my family, I built for friends, that's my trade. This is not the first home I built. And I am just, I would say, upset or surprised that it took this department this long to say, there is no way. I beg and I've asked him, hey, is there a way we can at least power up the property for now, and then in the next few months, Edison's gonna take at least 4 months to change the plans. It's a big burden, and I've asked to please look into it. And to end, I don't want to just come in and complain. I love the city. We have wonderful people. Public Works have done an awesome job. The girls at the counter, they're just such a beautiful job. They go on and beyond their duty, not to mention Lacey Davis. She's such a great person. So I'm not here to just complain. Great people, but right now I feel like a couple of people in the planning organization maybe messed up by not giving us directions in the very beginning. Thank you for your time.
Did you also renovate the house next door?
Excuse me?
Did you renovate the house right next door to that? Was that your
No.
house, somebody else? I'm just curious.
No,
Thank you.
No, we just purchased the corner lot.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bonnie Slager.
Hi, Bonnie.
Good evening,
What do
everybody.
you have?
Well, it's fair time, and so I'm reminding everybody that you can buy fair buttons now. They're $15 ahead of time. They're $20 at the gate, and they're for sale at a lot of places on 6th Street. They're for sale here at City Hall and some places on Hamner. And I just happen to have some with me tonight if anybody wants to buy a fair button. My second thing that I wanted to mention again tonight is that with the election coming up, Norco Horsemen's Association and Rural has partnered to have a candidates night. And so I hope everybody will put on their calendar September 19th, Thursday, September 19th, at Nellie Weaver Hall. I'm sorry, I always call it, I guess it's the hall now, but it's still Nellie Weaver Hall to me. And at 6:30, we'll be having candidates night. So I think this Friday is when the deadline is for.
Bonnie, it actually extends if one incumbent does not put papers in, so it'll extend to the 14th.
Okay, so it may go till the 14th.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, because then I want to get letters out to all of the candidates, so I can't do that until that. But anyway, so please put on your calendar to come on September 19th and buy fair buttons. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
There's no further public comment, Mayor.
Closing public comments. Now moving to the consent calendar. Oh. All right. Quickly, we'll reopen. That's all right.
I'll be real brief. Council.
She's new to Norco.
Yeah, right. 30-some years. No, I just want to give my compliments to the young ladies that started the Beanstack Challenges. I remember when I was that age, not that long ago. And it was so special for us because I was raised in the city of Pomona, and they used to have King Arthur's Round Table during the summer at the library for the kids from K through 6th grade. And it was a great place for us kids to go. If we couldn't go to the local plunge, we got to go to the library where it was air conditioned. But they had something very similar to this. So my hat's off to these gals that started this. And I hope businesses will get behind them and help them with their support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No further comment, Mayor.
Going once, going twice, closed. All right, moving on to consent calendar. Greg, you were giving me a list.
Not quite a list, 2 items, 3K, 3M.
Move to approve the rest.
I actually have one.
Slow.
Second.
Hang on.
While
No,
you're
I also
looking.
want to pull 3F. Now what's your motion?
I'm sorry. Please vote.
Greg?
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
You would be first.
Yeah, I was going to let you go first. Well, since that's the truth, I just want to get actually just an update on the 2023 General Plan Annual Progress Report, just a little bit from someone.
Yeah, this is, every year we have to create the annual report based on the activities of pretty much the Community Development Department. So we're required to, there's not really a deadline, but we're supposed to submit it yearly. So this report is basically a summary of what has gone on in basically the planning and building division for submittal to the state. So that's the purpose of this report.
I guess my question is, in looking at it, it looks pretty impressive, in my opinion. I'm pretty pleased with the way the report's laid out. I'm really pleased with the planning that's gone on. I'm really pleased. I'm just really, really pleased. I'm impressed, and I really want to give you and your department kudos.
Thank you.
Yeah, sincerely, and I really, really mean that. Can you let everybody in your department know that?
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
And with that, I will move to, do we close them all at the same time or just one at a time? Motion,
Mr. Mayor, you vote on them one at a time.
okay, so a motion to approve.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, Greg, 3K.
Thank you, Mayor. Sam. So this item is going to seem somewhat political, but there is a staff question. This change order, I understand our backs are up against the wall on this. Have you or Chad at this point reached out to our Edison representative on this item? Okay, and I don't want to make it political, but I'm going to do a little bit. We have a change order from Edison on a lift station, which is legitimate as far as the request for change. My request is asking staff $6,000 in labor, $2,200 in material, which would seem to be the bulk of a job, $42,000 in other, as it is, a $2.70 credit for salvage, and a 24% tax rate for another $12,000. So a job that's approximately $10,000 is going to cost the residents almost $66,000. And I think that it would be prudent to have staff reach out to our government representative and question this. I mean, it's just, we all know Edison screws us, right? They impact every construction job. The time frame on this is ridiculous also, but it's just, I think we need to dig in a little bit and try to fight it. So, okay, and like I said, I would appreciate this. I'll make a motion to approve because we have to move forward on it, but not liking it at all.
Do we have any?
Thanks, Sam.
We've already covered public comments. Anything from council?
I have no public comments.
Nothing? I second that. Oh, you did? Okay, good.
Please vote.
For the record, Berwin seconded it.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 3M.
So my questions are directed to Colin on this item 3M. This is to move forward with an agreement with Cosmont Transaction Services. One, I'd like an explanation on where it says no financial impact. I didn't see where that was addressed in this report. And also, this strikes me as like a cleanup item that was over authorizations.
So yes, it is like a cleanup item because we need additional authority to go over the $50,000 city manager contract authority. On the fiscal impact portion, I should have spelled that out better. The reason there was no fiscal impact was because Silver Lakes is supposed to reimburse the city for 100% of the costs of this contract. So we will pay the $90,000, but we'll get reimbursed 100% by Silver Lakes. So it should be a wash with no fiscal impact. But you're right, that should have been spelled out better in the section.
And then understanding or notwithstanding their expertise in these type of transactions, would you feel it would also be prudent to have our accounting firm look at this situation? And also, do you think it would be prudent to put out an RFP for a firm that does more large sports parks financing?
It's definitely something that staff can look into.
Okay.
It would provide another objective set of eyes to some of the numbers we're looking at. So if council wants us to proceed down that, we can go ahead and take a look and gather some information and come back to council with what that would look like.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Did you want to make a motion for
Yes.
that? Okay.
So you.
Okay.
So.
I'll move to approve, but I would like it noted in the minutes that Balboa Management Group is reimbursing the city for the cost of the services.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes with Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Newton voting no.
Moving on to 5A, Community Development Director will answer any questions you have. Does council have any questions or concerns about 5A? Do we have any public comments?
No public comments on 5A.
I ask for a motion on 5A.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please vote.
Do you need to read this?
No, Mr. Mayor, we read it on the first read.
Okay.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Moving on to 5B, does council have any questions or concerns with Sam? Any public comments?
No public comments on 5B.
Ask for a motion. We have a motion. I need a second. I'll second.
I know, I was like, that was a second. Second and a second.
Sorry. Did I make the motion? Son of a gun, I made the second.
Please vote.
Oh, God. I'm going to get fired. Ugh.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 5C, this will be for the attorney. Do we have any questions or concerns through Colin? Are there any public comments?
We have one public comment card, Dylan Wimple.
Are there public comments on a second read?
Yes.
There are.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Dylan Wimple is a resident. I just want to say good help is hard to find. I think you all put in a lot of work. I think it's entirely reasonable to do a one-time adjustment on a 20-year-old decision, and I support the motion.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments?
No further comments.
Closing public comments, bringing it back to council for motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please vote. Motion was defeated. We have Councilmember Newton voting no, Councilmember Grunmeyer voting no, and Councilmember Hannah abstaining from vote.
All right. Moving on to discussion. Order presentation for discussion items will be staff report presentation, council questions of staff, public comment, council discussion, and action. We'll begin with 6A. Glia Rios, nice to see you. Is this your first time presenting?
It is.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council. Tonight I have before you the California Native Tolerant Landscaping Policy. On April 17th of 2024, the Norco City Council directed staff to create a California Native Drought Tolerant Landscaping Policy for review at a future meeting. The proposed policy will prioritize the use of California Native Drought Tolerant landscaping and will support Norco's conservation goals along with complying with state and local water regulations. The policy intends to apply these practices to city facilities during landscaping upgrades or new projects, striving to use native drought-tolerant plants wherever feasible. The city will make every effort to utilize California native drought-tolerant plants as reasonably achievable. The purpose of this policy is to promote sustainable landscaping practices at city facilities to conserve water, enhance biodiversity, and strengthen resilience to drought and climate variability. This policy applies to all new landscaping installations and rehabilitation projects at city facilities, which will be managed by the park superintendent. The proposed guidelines include native plant selection. The city encourages the selection of California native drought-tolerant plants, as recommended by the California Native Plant Society and the Riverside Corona Resource Conservation District. Water conservation. The city will prioritize the use of low water use plants and efficient irrigation methods to significantly reduce water waste. Moreover, turf elimination. Turf will be eliminated as a ground cover option in medians, parkways, and for purely ornamental purposes. So why native plants? Native plants improve water conservation. Native plants are naturally adapted to thrive in Southern California's arid climate, requiring minimal supplemental irrigation once established. This characteristic not only prevents water waste, but also alleviates strain on local water resources. Native plants support biodiversity. Native plants are vital to Norco's local ecosystems, providing essential habitat sources, food sources, and nesting sites for indigenous wildlife species, including birds, insects, and pollinators like bees and butterflies. They also possess natural defenses against pests and diseases, attracting beneficial insects and animals that enhance natural pest management. Native plants also adapt to climate change. These species are inherently resilient and adaptable to climate variability, making them well suited to cope with changing environmental conditions. Furthermore, they advance sustainability initiatives. Native plantings serve as effective tools for carbon sequestration by absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in vegetation and soil. This process mitigates carbon emissions and supports broader efforts to combat climate change. The City of Norco is committed to partnering with the CNPS to utilize their expertise on native plants and landscaping through resources like CalScape, which is a database that offers detailed information on California native plants for effective integration. Collaborations will also extend to the RCRCD, which provides valuable services including environmental education, soil health assistance, and native plant propagation or reproduction. Additionally, partnerships with the Western Municipal Water District will focus on promoting sustainable landscaping and securing grant funding to replace turf with drought-tolerant native plants at city facilities. Attached to this policy is the native plant species list. The California native plant species list recommended by the CNPS and the RCRCD includes plants that require moderate to very low water intake. The city is committed to incorporating these native drought-tolerant species wherever feasible. However, factors such as plant availability and maintenance requirements may necessitate the use of alternative drought-tolerant plants, including succulents and cacti, when native options are not available. Furthermore, under Norco Municipal Code, oleander is prohibited and must not be planted or maintained within city limits. Thank you for your time, and I will now answer any questions that you may have.
Does council have any questions? Well done, by the way.
Thank you.
Robin?
Yeah, I had a question for you on some of the native plants that are listed in the report. A couple of them, they're native, so they're not invasive, but they do have a tendency to spread pretty aggressively. So when the planting decisions are made on the parks areas, I would assume the superintendent would take that into consideration, correct? Right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, and then just for, anybody's familiar, equisetum or horsetail was listed in one of these morning glories. No, at the ag department, we fight those all the time because we do have them planted, but they're very aggressive and take over entire areas. So just want to make sure as we're promoting native plants within the city and just in general for folks at home that that we're communicating clearly with some of these, that they can be a bit aggressive in nature as far as how they spread. So thank you for
Thank
your
you.
report.
Thank you. Anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I had sent in a question earlier, just looking, because when we were looking at doing this policy, some feedback I had given was looking at, is there a recommended percent of natives? And there wasn't from our subject matter experts, so thank you.
Greg?
Good report.
Thank you.
So you graduated.
Yeah, I graduated last year.
All right. Well, I know Amanda's happy with all your work and she's proud of you. Couple of things and to you and to staff that I know you've been doing this quite a while with native plants. This is nothing new to our staff. I do appreciate in your report that you took the time to list plants that are also available and cost effective, okay? Which is something that we should always be aware of. When you mentioned oleander, okay, did we check any of these other plants or recommendation plants for toxicity to animals?
No.
Okay, so, when you're looking for something to do, maybe just want to run down that list.
We did not, but we could definitely look through it again.
Yeah, that's all I have. Good job, appreciate it.
Any other questions, Berwin? Stay nearby. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments on this item.
Okay, closing that, bringing back to council for action.
Sorry, Mayor, we do. We have one, Dylan Wemple.
Oh.
Hello again.
Hi.
My name is Dylan Wemple, here as a resident of Norco to comment on the policy. First, I'd like to say thank you for council for providing the direction, and thank you to city staff for all of the invested time and effort that went into this. I appreciate our commitment as a city to green space. I would ask for a few clarification points and request some minor adjustments if possible. We call out that water is a precious resource and destructive force. A native drought-tolerant landscaping policy neglects the potential use of riparian and other native plants that can help drain flooded areas that are prone to flooding during seasonal water events. Native riparian buffers can be installed to infiltrate and soak up stormwater quickly, reducing the burden on our stormwater infrastructure. Please allow, in certain instances, high water use plants and include them in our stormwater management plan. I don't see any trees on the list. There's shrubs, perennials, and everything else. Trees are major points of biodiversity. Our native oaks, willows, and cherries support hundreds of species of caterpillars and are keystones for biodiversity. Please take the opportunity to review our street tree list in a future session and work to increase native tree options, ideally giving preference to them when site conditions allow. Long-term care and maintenance costs will be reduced, so I ask council to take the opportunity to invest in training city staff on the maintenance and care of native plantings. This will help save on costs for failed installations and ensures that the right plant is chosen for the right place. In larger projects, I'd ask that bloom periods are taken into account to support pollinators with forage of nectar and pollen throughout the entire year. Smaller installations may be exempt as site conditions allow. If suitable plant material is not available, I ask that before switching to a non-native option, an alternative native option or an alternative native size, so if it's a 1 gallon that we can only find in 3 gallons or etc., that be given preference. And finally, I would ask that as this effort is a municipal program, that when we contract out work and when we push for commercial applications, that we encourage the inclusion of native plants in those. So potentially in landscaping contracts, I know we bid everything out and apply weighted scores to everything if we can include a native plant weight on our analyses. And, sorry.
My fault.
And in commercial plantings, when we're requiring native greens, or we're requiring green space in all of these, if we can offer support to these commercial endeavors, make it easy for them to just plug and play an approved option that works with their conditions and take the burden off of them so that it's more easily adapted. Changes like those, I think, will better reflect our city and keep a cohesive vision for the entire city. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
No further comments, Mayor.
All right, bringing it back to council for action.
I'd just like to comment, thank you to the staff and the Parks Department and facilities for already implementing some of this. If you look at the Kathy Azevedo Memorial, if you look at the Veterans area, the landscaping in front of the community center has all been done already with this in mind prior to policy. So I want to thank staff for being proactive on that. And with that, I will move to approve.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Moving on to 6B. Do we have any staff report, first of all?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, council. This agenda item 6B is the required annual review of accessory building, our accessory building ordinance, this is chapter 18.68 of our Norco Municipal Code. And this is non-habitable accessory buildings consisting primarily of RV garages, and barns. So part of when the council adopted this this ordinance, it was required to be reviewed on an annual basis. So here we are. The annual review typically consists of provides the council, well, our planning commission and city council, a history of what the changes that have been done beginning in 2017 when the ordinance was adopted. And it provides the number of accessory buildings that were approved in the prior calendar year. And it goes into issues that may have come up as during the year that may warrant some changes. So tonight's presentation is basically going to focus on discussion items of just issues, potential changes that have come up in the previous year that are worthy of consideration to see if there's any potential changes. So the first discussion item that is being recommended for discussion is that in the approval of an accessory building, there's required findings that have to be made. And there are in the ordinance. Staff is recommending that an additional finding be added so that when an accessory building is approved, that we analyze and make sure that there's still room to add an ADU of the minimum size of 800 square feet. I incorrectly mentioned 850 square feet, but for an ADU, the minimum size that we have to allow is 800 square feet. Now, the reason being that we allow for a detached accessory dwelling unit or an ADU, we allow 1,200 square feet. But if they can't meet all the requirements, we have to at a minimum allow 800 square feet. That could potentially end up in the PACA if it's not, feasible anywhere else. So what we want to add is a finding that, after, with the approving of this garage, for example, garage, there's still room to add an ADU that's not going to obstruct the animal keeping area. Planning Commission reviewed this and they agreed with staff recommendation that a finding should be added. So the second item is that we amend the development standards to address conversion of accessory buildings into ADUs. So as the council is aware, in addition to allowing a detached newly constructed ADU, residents do have the ability to convert an accessory building, like for example, a garage, into an additional ADU. So what the discussion was with the Planning Commission is that we look at the development standards of the accessory buildings and potentially amend them to not make it as easy, I guess, to facilitate a conversion. So what the Planning Commission directed or recommended that we look at the RV garages, and the RV garages are allowed at 1,000 square feet with an additional 400 square feet. The recommendation is that we consider removing the additional 400 square feet and maybe making them more narrow so that they're basically built only to accommodate RVs or a structure as opposed to an additional ADU. The second item for discussion is that we centralize the requirement for an AGA or an open animal keeping area in Chapter 1868. Right now, the way it's written, it just defers to the underlying zone. Staff has recommended that as part of the development standards, the provision for the AGA be specified in Chapter 18.68, and the Plan Commission said, yes, that's a good idea. So the other item for discussion is that we codify the number of accessory buildings allowed by type. For example, the code allows a RV garage and smaller buildings, 864 square feet, and barns. The recommendation is that we codify, for example, that only one RV garage be allowed and not several, and that if conditions warrant it, they can apply for a variance to allow for more. Another point of discussion is that we did get a letter written by a property owner that we look at the height of, for example, RV garages versus animal keeping structures. Right now, the height of an RV garage is, the wall is taller than 16 feet than was it allowed for a animal keeping structure, which is limited at 10 feet. In that we consider, the concern was that we're more permissive for an RV garage in height as opposed to a barn. But there was a reason for why we limited it, because again, for an RV garage, the cap is at 1,000 square feet. For a barn, it could go much bigger depending on the number of animal units, and hence you can ultimately transition up to 18 feet, but it starts low because when it's a big structure, you're actually breaking up the appearance of a big block as opposed to a big, large square. So, and finally, increase the square footage of buildings exempt from Planning Commission review. Let me backtrack. On the height, reviewing the height, the commission said, just basically leave it alone, and there is a variance process to warrant discussion for individual property owners on a case-by-case basis. So the last point of discussion is that increasing the square footage of buildings that are exempt from Planning Commission review. Right now, buildings that are 240 square feet don't require Planning Commission review. They still have to meet with the requirements, but they don't require Planning Commission review. The recommendation was that we possibly go all the way up to 864 square feet for exempt from Planning Commission review. Planning Commission basically said that, no, let's just leave it how it is to only exempt those that are 240 square feet or less. So again, this is just discussion, part of the required annual review of accessory building ordinance, chapter 18.68, and discussion for issues and concerns are always discussed as part of our review. And the purpose of this agenda item is for the City Council to review the Planning Commission's recommendations and determine whether we should move forward with code amendments. And with that, I will conclude and answer any questions. Thank you.
Council have any questions? Berwin? Greg?
There we go. On that explanation where it was concern from the property owner, that's on page 288 of 341.
Yeah.
Middle of the page, wall height. So it's on a barn.
Yes.
It's 10 feet from the eave,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can go up to 18 feet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I don't really understand the concern in this case that since it can be larger, right?
Yes.
Than, let's say, the RV storage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was just trying to, it didn't read real clear to me on that. So it goes back to something you said earlier, where we can impact PACAs or animal keeping areas based on what's feasible. So my question is, how do we determine feasibility. As far as, I don't like the idea of giving up an animal keeping area for an ADU or any other structure. So would it be feasible, like in a definition, to say, well, you have to remove another structure to make your ADU fit instead of impacting the animal keeping area? So definition of what's feasible and how would we determine that?
Well, generally speaking, what staff was looking at, for example, accessory buildings, these like garages, barns, they're not an automatic approval. So it's a discretionary approval by the planning commission, so they can be denied. ADUs cannot. They're ministerial. They don't have to go before the planning commission. They're approved at staff level, and we have to allow them. We have to. So what we were, staff's consensus on this was basically, and in the consensus by the planning commission, was that when we look at accessory buildings like an RV garage, we need to look and see whether, in addition to that garage, if somebody comes in and wants to build an ADU, we want to make sure that there's still room for that ADU outside of, for primarily the animal keeping area. So basically how they would show that is maybe just do like a square of at least 800 square feet showing, hey, you guys allow this barn, we can still make provision for an ADU that's not going to be inside the PACA or obstruct the access to it. So they would have to show it, demonstrate. If they can't demonstrate, well, then I guess they would have to reduce the size of their accessory building. If they can't, I'm sure that it could accommodate. Because again, if we can't accommodate, if we, after applying all the restrictions, like a PACA, access to it, all the setbacks, and you can't at least accommodate a new detached 800 square foot ADU, it's got to go either in the front yard or in what we have as our animal keeping area. And it could be the PACA or the animal keeping, and that's what we want to avoid.
Okay. I like that we can become proactive on this, right?
Yes, that's the intent.
And thanks to you, planning staff and planning commission. But you can also put an ADU in your front yard?
You can, if that's the only place that's left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or take out the animal keeping.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Catherine?
But I appreciate that, Alma. Thanks.
Yes. What is the cost for a variance? It's listed in some cases. If this were to go through, someone could apply for a variance. What would the cost be for a variance?
The cost for variance, in addition to the review for the accessory building, is $3,885.
And then to build on what Greg had said with the barns, I drew myself a little picture. So I guess I'm thinking most of our lots are half acre. So the way our accessory building ordinance is currently written, your barn can have 10-foot walls, but it can go quite up to 18. But your RV garage can have 16-foot.
Yes.
So in that sense, you are allowed a higher building, right? Not in the center, but on the side of your walls, on the same size lot.
Yes.
Which was the instance where, I think that person saw an RV garage and thought, well, I can build my barn in a similar fashion, and then found out that they could not.
Correct. Based on the description that they were providing us, it was intended for a barn, so that's where the restriction came in.
Okay. And then in the staff report, the recommendation, because some of them had to do with each other, so I was, reading them all, trying to connect all the dots. There was a suggestion of limiting the size then of the RV garage so that it would be a narrow building if the walls were that high?
Yes, the suggestion basically came from, you're creating situations where it's not easily converted into an ADU. So what was the recommendation is that to eliminate the additional 400 square feet that is allowed in addition to 1,000 square feet, and then establish some kind of limit as to the width of it to where it's only wide enough to basically accommodate what it's intended for, an RV or a large vehicle. So that way it would be more of a skinny building as opposed to something that's wide that could be turned into potentially an ADU.
Okay, and then what would the limit be? Because I know one of the recommendations later on that did not, the Planning Commission didn't recommend to adopt was to allow more of a ministerial approval for buildings that are 864 square feet. So are we talking about other than an RV garage in that instance?
Anything that's 800, no, yes, anything, the height limit to be ministerial would be at 8-foot walls and 14-foot tall. So yes, it would not include an RV garage.
And 864 square feet and under. Okay, I just wanted to
Yes.
follow where all those pieces
Yeah.
were coming. Okay, I think those are all my questions right now. Thank you.
Robin? What would it take to outright ban them,
Ban,
accessory buildings? Because the problem that we have is that we're trying to promote animal keeping, large plot farming, small plot farming. We're trying to promote a lifestyle of elbow room. We're the last one left. And so in essence, I'm actually surprised because we actually have an ADU being built in the front yard on somebody on California Avenue. And because they claimed they didn't have the room in the back when they did have room in the back, but your hands were tied. And so I think that if we're being forced to do this, I think we need to get rid of accessory buildings. I think I totally get people want to park motorhomes and those kind of things, but how many motorhomes will it take to sustain 7,000 rooftops to maintain a half-acre parcel? What would it take?
a code amendment from approved and adopted by council.
Great, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments on this item.
All right, closing public comments, bring it back to council for comments, action.
I always like a good discussion with you, Kevin. So I think banning accessory buildings would be difficult. Where would I park my horse trailer?
Horse trailer isn't as high as a motorhome.
So are you
Well-
suggesting all accessory buildings or just certain uses, like an RV garage?
I think RV garages, I think that's really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about workshops, I'm talking about these big high structures that that we've allowed in the past. And you know what, you can blame the city council, but the reality is this is the state doing this. This is their fault. And the reality is I'd rather have a horse in the backyard or a workshop in the backyard than a friggin' RV. Because remember Orange Park Acres? He used to shoe over there. Guess what? That's RV heaven. There's no horses there anymore. And it's not even so much the horses, it's that we are becoming RV heaven. And so I'm not even proposing we do that, but I think that the reality is they put in an RV, you have animal keeping, so it goes on top of that, or it goes in the front yard. And if we buck that, we'd have the privilege of the state of California saying, guess what? You people don't know how to zone, and they're just going to rip your zoning away. And I see the League of Cities guy, he's shaking his head, they're shaking their head up and down, up and down. You don't think that won't happen? That's why we can't play around as council people, and I'm not saying we do, but this is a very serious situation. They walk up to the counter, they slap it down, say, I'm building an ADU, and I'm going to put it in my front yard because in my opinion, it doesn't fit the backyard. So I think we really need to be cold-hearted on this and maybe go to our legislators. I mean, I know it doesn't help because we're on the wrong side of the aisle, but the reality is that is the reality. And we're trying to protect the last one. We're the last community like this. So, you know, a lot of people right now we're hearing about the flight from the cities because of the disasters they've become, and Norco's a target. And by the way, just so we're clear, everybody thinks we're so expensive. We're cheap compared to, you know what, you buy a postage stamp in Los Feliz, you're gonna pay $2 million. And it's half the size of this room. So I don't know, I'm not saying we do it, but I think we need to be serious about this. Are we going to be RV heaven? I get the horse trailer situation. Maybe we need to do some investigation in terms of that. But it's the ADUs, and we are doing everything we possibly can to legalize ADUs. school district doesn't want to play ball with us. That's what's happening. They're like, hey, we need that money. It's not my fault. I mean, I know what everybody says, but school district is not in great financial shape. I don't care what anybody says. Right now, nobody can be in good shape because we don't know what's going to happen. We all pretend like, nothing's happening. There's no recession. It's a crazy time. And all I'm trying to do is protect our lifestyle. How do we do that? And how do we make those hard choices? I mean, Greg, you and I my first meeting, we were talking about this, right, Berwin? That was my first topic of discussion, were huge buildings. So we have to decide, how does this fit into our scheme of what we want Norco to look like in 25 years? That's the key. We lose animals or small lot. If we lose what keeps the large lots, the next councils are going to come along and they're just going to cut them up. Because the way communities like ours fall is they go, well, you know what, if we just rezone that part, that'll bring us enough property tax that we'll be able to take care of this part. But then eventually you go, well, that part's not so expensive. And besides that, those streets are kind of old. And then if you get districts, then this district, what they'll do is they'll say, well, I don't care about that. It's happening in Riverside. They're going to run those lines right through one of their own districts. I mean, you don't think that won't happen in Norco? So I don't mean to, what do you guys want to do? How do we want to protect it?
Can I?
Yeah,
finish?
please.
Thanks.
I'm done.
No, you're not. On your discussion item, explain a little more on the last item. Increase the square footage of a building exempt from planning commission review. And what specifics with that, and what was the planning commission's opinion?
So to give you a little more explanation on that, right now, accessory buildings like workshops that are no taller than 14 feet to the peak and 8 foot to the wall, if they're 240 square feet or less, we review them over the counter. They don't have to go to planning commission.
240.
240.
Okay.
The recommendation
Good with
here
that.
was to increase the exemption for buildings up to 864 square feet, where we would just approve them at staff level. And the reason for that is that those are rarely an issue. They're very easily able to accommodate all the requirements. And I have not seen one that has been denied by planning commission, because usually when they get there, they've met all the requirements. So it would be easier for the members of the community to get those approved, because they're smaller. Planning commission said, no, let's leave it as it is, 240. We want those to keep coming to the planning commission. That was their recommendation, and yeah, that's
Okay. So currently, we're just stopping at 240 for
Correct.
staff approval.
correct. That's the
Okay.
code. That's the way it's codified.
Nothing against staff. I concur, though, with the planning commission recommendation, only for an extra set of eyes.
Yes.
Right?
Understood.
Like we talked earlier about feasibility, right? Okay. That's all I have right now. Thank you all.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion? Do we have a thought, discussion? We've already asked for public comment.
So if I can kind of help guide the discussion a little bit. Yeah, so again, this is just a discussion. This is just to get some input on whether we should move forward. So if I can start with the first item. The first item is whether we should go ahead and come back with, at a future time, I mean, and this is not something that's in a hurry, but that we should come back with an amendment for a finding that, they can still accommodate an ADU. That's my question.
Yeah, so to go by one by these and see?
Yes, if
Yes,
that-
I
yeah.
love that. So
Okay.
I agree with the first bullet. Does anybody else not agree?
Okay, so that's it, okay. And the second one is amend the standards. For example, the commission told us to focus on just the RV garages, to where, maybe put a limit on how wide they can be and eliminate the 400 square feet, additional 400 square feet.
And then can you just review almost, so what if it's not an RV garage? How large could someone, they could no longer be 1,400 square feet, right? Because that was only
Well, it's not, I mean, again, the way it was written, it's a large vehicle, so it could be a large truck, pickup truck, it could be just a large vehicle.
So then that would limit all buildings to 1,000 square feet?
It just what's for a large vehicle parking building, which, for example, we keep using the RV, because that was the original.
Right, so and I'm exempting animal keeping from, because that
Correct.
depends on animal units. But
Correct.
let's say I wanted to build a workshop. What's the size limit for my workshop?
864 square feet.
Okay.
This would be just for the ones that are 1,000 square feet and an additional 400 square feet on the side.
So the suggestion is to
Amend that type of building only. To where we would no longer allow an additional 400 square feet, it's just 1,000 square feet, and then just make a maximum, width, to where it's, it's intended only to accommodate a large vehicle and not convert it into a house.
Okay, so you could have your animal keeping facility
Mm-hmm.
and up to 864 square feet for some other kind of workshop outbuilding, or an RV structure that would be below 1,000 square feet, I'm assuming.
Well, it would stay 1,000, but you would make it just more narrow.
So it could be long and skinny?
Yeah. That's kind of what they asked us to consider. But again,
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the recommendations, yeah.
And again, we would just come back with a recommendation for how we would change it if the council determines that we should move forward with a code amendment.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, so I think that the general direction is good. What you decide today, we'll draft, and then you can ultimately decide to modify as you give it more thought.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Alma, on that vehicle parking buildings versus the large animal keeping shelters, should they be the same height? What height are you talking about? The wall height?
The wall height, yes. 'Cause
Okay, how tall are you talking about?
The concern was that for a large vehicle parking building, like an RV garage, we allow wall height of 18 feet. 16, my apologies, 16 feet, and then ultimate peak height at 18 feet. For an animal keeping structure, the wall height maximum is 10 feet, but it could, kind of go up to the peak height maximum at 18. So that's where the concern was, hey, you allow a taller wall height for an RV than you do for an animal keeping structure. But there was a reason for that back in 2017 when all of this was drafted, so. That was the concern.
The taller the wall is on a horse barn, the harder the temperature control for the animals is. That's why most of them standard are about 8 feet everywhere. And you go on up to 12 or 14, then you're going to have a hard time controlling the temperature. Like the cold weather, it's colder in there in a taller building, it's hotter in the summertime in a taller building. So I couldn't imagine, there's some people probably do it, but I couldn't imagine having one animal keeping barn, 18-foot walls on it, or 16, whatever.
Planning Commission said their consensus was just leave it as it is. If somebody needs a variance, we can consider it on a case-by-case basis, so. And staff concurs with you.
Anyway, that's my nickel's worth.
So, I'm sorry, Catherine. Robin, you're okay? Where was it? I don't want to let that wall height slip away yet. I'm still thinking about this. Well, I think I'm okay on the building exemption on the square footage. As Berwin said, I think based on that letter, 10-foot high from the eave for animal keeping is fine, right? And you can go up to 16 at the ridge.
18 at the ridge.
18 on the ridge.
All the way, all the way.
Still
to
on
the peak.
animal, on an
To the
animal
peak, yes,
keep.
you can. It could just kind of progress up.
All right. I think I'm good with all these discussion items to
Okay. Yeah.
let staff move forward a little bit more with the commission.
Okay, so it sounds like there's consensus
Is
based on
that a
the-
recommendation?
Yeah.
Clarifying question, you say move forward with the commission? because they gave their feedback on this. I just want to make sure I understood what you were saying.
Well, yeah, but I mean, staff would
What the
start
commission or,
tying some of these discussion items together, and I would assume that you would, whatever these changes are,
Yeah,
run it at
it's-
the planning commission.
Yeah, so it sounds
That's
like
how I
based
meant it,
the
Catherine.
clarification that Catherine, Councilmember Alleman is saying is move forward with the recommendations of the planning commission and come back with a code amendment to address all of them, based on the recommendation. So all that would come back.
I guess what I was saying then is if there's any other little changes is discussion
what has to come back
to
anyways?
run that to planning.
Yeah, it has to
Oh,
come
I
back.
see, yeah.
I think we're
Well,
saying
then,
the same thing.
the actual, yes, the ordinances will go that in, and they'll come back to us with the actual fleshed out language.
So we're good?
Okay,
Okay, moving on.
thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Might be, if you, I would suggest we take item D next, since I know you have a colleague from the mayor, from City of Calamasa here.
All right,
on
so
that
we
item,
will
so that's
jump
my
to
suggestion.
6D. Consider the City of Norco's current participation in the League of California Cities and future participation in California Contract Cities Association. Lori?
Thank you, Mayor. So this was brought up at a prior, June 5th council meeting to come back to you for discussion. So we've provided you with some information about the League of California Cities, the members, the member benefits that we receive, the dues amounts, and so forth. So, and we do have tonight our regional public affairs manager, Jesse Ramirez, is here. And then, yeah, I just learned tonight, Linda Molina from the City of Calamasa is here tonight. So they're here on this item. So really, we're looking for direction from you on this item with regard to our membership in the League of Cities. I provided some comments to you in the staff report. And then also, as part of that discussion, it was direction to also for you to discuss contract cities. So contract cities, separate organization, about 80 members. Most of those members, virtually all those members, are also League of Cities members. They're really focused on cities that have that contract services model like we do here. And they provide other sorts of levels of advocacy and support to cities that provide contract services through the contract model. The Lakewood Plan, if you will, to the old timers, that's what it was called. So with that, we're just looking for your direction and discussion.
Great. So let's bring it to council for comments, I guess, because I was the one that kind of started this ball rolling. And the reason I did is I was having some issues with some of the things that were occurring, but a lot of those issues have now gone away. The new chair of the state folks is actually from Rancho Cucamonga. We have a very like interest in that both of our cities are trying to figure out a way to fairly receive some of the funding coming from the warehousing. And the issue with the warehousing, of course, is that for whatever reason, they kind of pulled the rug out from under us. We get the trucks, they get the money. And so that was extremely upsetting. But what most upset me was the fact that the League of California Cities, we actually had a decision to go forward with trying to make it more fair. And what happened was the cities that had the warehouses and were making all this money, they went outside the league and there were no ramifications, and they lobbied actually against the position of our city. Then there was sort of a purge of a lot of the folks that were from our region, and there was a purge at the state level. A lot of that has now changed. Aaron Sassy was a pretty outstanding regional rep for us, and this last meeting, I have to say, was really excellent. I now kind of wish everybody had been there. It was really put together well. I really appreciated it. I sense there's a big change coming. I had a long talk with the rep that's the rep for revenue and taxation. There's a new direction that appears we can go as the Inland Empire. These are all very interesting changes. The reason that I thought about maybe going to contract cities is the fact that contract cities seems to be more in touch with what this housing is really doing to cities. It's destroying them. And it's literally giving developers a license to steal. And we're facing it right now in the city of Norco. And so that said, the contract cities are pretty weak at the moment in the Inland Empire. I'm also sensing that within the Inland Empire, there is a new strength in terms of the cities that are coming together. There's a real frustration with how Northern California is kind of pushing us around. So my personal opinion is I think we need to, and not that it's me, but it looks like I'm about ready to be the chair of Rev and Tax, which means I will have the ability to really get in touch and in tune with Ranch Cucamonga, and I'm very pleased that that may happen. I also think, let's just face it, the League of Cities, the most important part a lot of times at the conferences is that we're connecting with the other cities. I know a lot of the cities now that have left, that I was talking to with before, are now coming back to the League of Cities. And so with that said, I'm open to discussions and that kind of thing, but I just wanted to let you know that my position is I think at least for the coming year, we need to stay with the league. Do we have any comments or anything, questions? Okay, do you mind if we invited up our league representative or our Inland Empire chairman? I don't know, well, I just want to make sure I can. Come on up. And then we'll have public comments after that. Long time no see.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Linda Molina. I'm here from a city much like Norco, Calamasa. It's a rural city. We're just a little bit smaller by population and square footage, square miles, I should say. But I'm really here as president of Riverside County Cal Cities, and here to talk to the value of Cal Cities. This year has been so challenging. Every year we have at least 1,500 new bills, good ones, bad ones, and it's up to the city's representatives to sort it out and work together. And I think this year, more than any other year prior, partnerships are key. Getting information out is key. And so we have, as president of Riverside County, and when I heard that there was some discussion for Norco, I thought it prudent to come and show my support and reiterate how important it is for our cities, for funding success, for getting information out and encouraging all members of the city, not just councils. And thank you, Mayor Bash, for letting me talk here in council, and city staff and community. I appreciate this. But funding success and education and awareness is key. And so I think what we've done in Riverside County is we have this year reached out to San Bernardino Division and Mountain Cities Division. We're looking at Imperial County, LA, and Orange County. We're all in the same boat. We all have core issues. We're all uniquely different. But the key thing is sorting through the bad laws and the good laws and supporting each other in that respect. And so I thought it prudent for me to come here tonight to tell you there is a value in Cal Cities. It's not a perfect system just like everything else, but it's working well in Riverside County, and I hope that you will continue to support Riverside County. Excuse me, there are 7 policy committees. We encourage all cities to participate in those. It gives you, just like a council has 5 or 7 different perspectives and you make a decision as a whole, the policy committees are designed for the same thing. You give your input and then the board hopefully listens and we move forward and we're successful. And so I think we've done well this year. The evil housing laws are just that. Funding is being challenged from the federal level all the way down to the city level. And partnerships are what's working and getting information out. So we have member meetings every other month. We encourage council members to come. We encourage city managers. We have trainings. This is the strength of Cal Cities, is the trainings, new elected trainings, Brown Act, ethics. Those are key for newly electeds. I remember when I first got on council, there was a learning curve, and you don't really realize what the job is until you get in that seat. So I hope that you'll consider keeping strength in Cal Cities by participating and joining us at our member cities. I invite you all to come if you haven't been. I'm president this year of Riverside County, so I'm very proud to do so. It's a passion for me to mainly get information out and get input from every city. That's the only way we're going to succeed, is to have our voice heard. And so I'm here just to say that. Please keep our county strong and be active. I know Jesse has a few things to say as well, but that was the most important thing that I wanted to share, is how important it is for us to have our voice heard, because we have a lot to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jesse.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time, staff. Thank you for your time. I just want to give you guys a quick overview, and I want to start at this housing conversation with ADU since it was fresh. We hired a housing lobbyist shortly after I was hired there in November. He joined our team in January, and he hit the road running. We have been playing defense, as you can imagine, in Sacramento with some of these housing laws coming through. But folks, we have some real serious laws coming out currently that we're opposing. AB 1885, which enacts builder's remedy for cities who haven't had their housing element approved, is a big one. They're changing the housing element. Our housing lobbyists worked with the Senate to provide them with information on why HCD should be audited, and that's happening. I mean, we're doing some really cool stuff at the state level and really trying to protect that local zoning control. So I just wanted to start off with that. I do want to give you a quick just overview of Cal Cities as it is. I'm gonna break this down into 3 different areas: education, advocacy, and then our political side. Our advocacy, we have a legislative director named Jason Ryan, and we have 6 lobbyists at the state level that are here to serve you. Those areas include housing development, public safety, power, energy, and transportation, environmental, tax and revenue, governance, transparency, and labor relations. And this year at our legislative summit, our lobbyists did a really good job of connecting our delegation to some of those members on key committees. And so we had a really good conversation with those folks up in Sacramento around some of our regional issues. Education, just for next year already, we have a total of 8 events on the calendar: Mayors and Council Academy, a City Managers Conference, a Planning Commissioners Conference, Public Works Officers Institute, City Leaders Summit, which is our advocacy day in Sacramento, our City Attorneys Conference, and our annual conference. Those conferences are outside of our division conferences. We have a total of, like Linda mentioned, 6 division meetings per year, and we're adding 2 more next year. One of them is going to be a workshop for planning commissioners to better understand the laws and better understand their responsibilities as planning commissioners. A lot of folks in different areas of the state, their planning commissioners are not dealing with the types of projects that we're dealing with here in Riverside County. And so that was super important to them. And so I've added that. I've gotten approval from Cal Cities to do that within the division. So we'll be doing that next year as well. The last aspect that I wanted to discuss was the political arm of Cal Cities. As you all know, we have a fundraiser. Every division has a fundraiser once a year for City PAC. This PAC goes toward ballot measures that are directly negatively affecting local control. This year we had a big win with the CBRT ballot measure. The Supreme Court ruled it out, but that would have really impacted cities negatively from a financial planning process as well as a collection of fees process. Cal Cities approached this in a 3-way approach. We did a legal amicus brief where we fought it legally. We did a legislative approach where we submitted ACA 13 and put out a opposition ballot measure. And then we ran a PR campaign where we submitted over 220 resolutions from cities across the state opposing this ballot measure. As you may have heard at our last meeting, and I think Mayor Bassett alluded to it, we got an update from our DA's office as well as Sheriff Bianco's office on Prop 36. This is the district attorney's ballot measure that is aiming to repeal some aspects of Prop 47. Cal City's board did vote to support that measure, and so we're going to be the face of that campaign here in Riverside County. Cal Cities has, again, an aspect of in-kind donation through my time that I will put forth toward that effort. And so those are the three advocacy areas that we really approach our legislative and I guess policy-making decisions from. So I'd be happy to answer any questions in the report, but that's kind of a general update on on how Cal City operates and what we're doing here in Riverside County. In addition to that, I want to throw one last thing out there. As Linda mentioned, this is the first year we've actually partnered with San Bernardino County and Mountain Division. Our strategy going in, and this was a lot to do with Linda's leadership here, was to put all of these divisions not together as one division, but to talk about similar issues, warehousing sales tax being one of them. And what we've learned is that in the first meeting, we had over 220 attendees. Housing, homelessness, warehousing, these are all issues that impact us differently than other areas of the state. And so being able to put the numbers together through Cal Cities has been very important. With that being said, we also have an incoming president from Rancho Cucamonga, Councilmember Lynn, gosh dang it, I'm forgetting. Lynn Kennedy, thank you. She'll be our incoming president, and so we'll have a regional president. And I'm really hoping that between the collaboration of both of those divisions, we really move some good policy forward next year. So, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Moving to public comments.
I have no public comments, Mayor.
Bring back to council. Well, it would be my suggestion we stay with League of Cities at least for the next year. One of the things I forgot to mention was the fact that for the first time we're linking with 3 other counties. That has never happened before. That's a huge positive step. And that's while acknowledging maybe the last year was not the strongest year that we've had because of the transition. But I would also sort of want to wait on the contract cities simply because they're really just sort of establishing in Riverside County. I don't think they have that many cities, and I think they're also kind of reeling because the 3 counties coming together has never happened before. So it would be my recommendation that we go ahead and we stick it out for another year and just kind of see what happens, because I really do see some positive things happening. Do we have to make, that's a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Can I put in a cheap plug for my next meeting?
Yeah.
We're going to be discussing the Supreme Court decision on homelessness and homelessness encampments. We're going to have a really good panel to discuss that, so I encourage all of you to come out to that. It'll be September 9th. I'll be sending out the flyer early next week.
Thank you. Anyway, that's a motion to stay with the League of Cities for the next year and kind of just keep an eye on the contract cities and see how they grow. And I'd like to see how this tri-county thing works. By the way, another piece of that is that we are positioning ourselves in terms of the tech bridge. And the reason I'm bringing up the tech bridge is because we are the center. It's not something that can be taken from us by an education consortium, although parts of it are a little bit, but we are in the center of it. And I am hoping that we might be able to, within the Norco, Corona, maybe the Eastvale area, we might be able to utilize League of Cities to help us strengthen the tech bridge. Nobody else has what we have in our city. So we're not just a one-horse town, we're not just a sports capital. We could actually be a technical hub for the entire Riverside, San Bernardino County. So it would be nice to have help to do that.
Thank you.
Please vote. And motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Moving back to, can we keep going? Do we need a break? Are we all right? Okay. Moving on to 6C.
Before you begin, I'd like to recuse myself. I have a conflict of interest due to the location of my personal property.
Oh, you're gonna miss all the fun. So first have a staff report.
Yes, good evening, Council. This agenda item 6C is a request for an extension of a 12-month extension of time to record the final map for tentative parcel map 37939 with a new expiration date of September 7th, 2025. As the council may recall, this map was approved in conjunction with a mixed-use development back in September 7th, 2021. The map was approved for 2 years and would expire unless it's extended. Last year, which was the expiration date of September 7th, 2023, last year the council granted the first of 6 allowed map extensions with a new expiration date of September 7th, 2024. The request before you this evening is to extend that date to September 7th, 2025. And staff is recommending approval. The applicant is here, and we can answer any questions that the commission may have. And I also point out that Erica Vega, a land use attorney, is also here to assist in answering any questions should they come up. With that, I will conclude and answer any questions. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Berwin? Greg? All right. Robin? I have none. Any public comments?
I have no public comment, Mayor.
Closing public comments, bringing you back for motion, comments, discussion. Seeing done, I make a motion to approve.
Please vote. Greg, yours wasn't showing. Was it it?
I'm pushing it. Hi, but maybe it's telling me different.
Motion passes. Thank you.
So moving on to 7, I think I covered them all, right? Jumping back, I got them all?
Yep.
All right, moving on to 7, public hearings, order presentation for public hearing items, staff report presentation, council questions of staff, open public hearing. Public hearing is to open, then we'll close the public hearing. I will state that it's going to close. Council discussion and action, so.
Oh, yeah. Who's captain?
Call upon Director Freed.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. We're here tonight to recommend amendments to our purchasing ordinances in order to meet our regulatory requirements related to our recycling purchasing and federal requirements through the Office of Management and Budget. The state requirements basically requires us to procure recycled product, and is setting standards and specifications on our paper products and as well as some organic products. And the Office of Management and Budget is announcing changes to the uniform grants guidance. And with that, we also will be notifying staff of those requirements once this passes. Our policy, or sorry, excuse me, our city ordinance currently doesn't require changes for the federal requirements because we have a line just saying that we're going to comply with those requirements. But the recycled product, we don't have that specific language in there, so we are recommended to add that section for the recycled purchasing. And with that, if you have any questions.
Council have any questions for Lisette? Robin?
Lizette, what state agency enforces this policy?
This is coming from California State B, and it's we're participating with the Cal Recycle grant, and that's part of the requirement through that grant, requesting the requirements with that. And our Public Works Department is the one administering that grant.
And then how or when are audits for compliance done?
Since Public Works would be required to report on some of the numbers on this, so that I don't have the specifics, but we could look into that to see when those requirements will be.
So essentially, since we've applied for the grant, we have to meet the requirements and then we self-report?
I don't know
that sound-
the details of the grant itself, but I could look into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Catherine? Greg?
You're not going to be forced to use single ply, are you?
It says 45% recycled cotton for toilet paper.
Okay. I had to say small.
Berwin? All right. Public hearing is now open.
I have no public comments, Mayor.
Public hearing is now closed. Was that good, Sophia? Did I do it right? Thank you. All right, bring you back to council for discussion, action.
Second.
Read title.
Yep, please.
Ordinance number 1123, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Norco, amending Chapter 3.24 Purchasing System of the Norco Municipal Code, Code Amendment 2024-09.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
All right, moving on to city council and staff communications. Anything from city staff? No. City attorney?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Not a thing, huh? City manager? Berwin? Greg?
The public comments that were made today by the two residents regarding their electrical services and their dilemma that they're in with the construction. I know, Alma, that you're aware of that situation, obviously, but I'd like to see council be given a report of what the situation is. And maybe a timeline. Thank you.
It's a good one. I like that. Catherine?
Just want to thank city staff for all of their work and the volunteers at Day of the Cowboy and also at National Night Out. So thank you.
Robin?
Would just like to wish the Little League team from Eastvale best of luck tomorrow in their game. So there's my little plug and a little props to Eastvale for their Little League team. So best wishes to them tomorrow in their game.
So awesome. I just have two things. One, I'd like to agendize a discussion about the National Register. It's very possible, I don't know what's going to happen, but the LNCF has offered to join us in that effort. And if we could, I have to bring it before council, if we could agendize that at a future meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Please vote. Get it? Yeah. There it
And
goes.
then,
Motion passes unanimous.
and then finally, I know this is a much, much bigger lift, but I would like to agendize a discussion regarding, we are in a very unique position as a city of Norco in that we have our own waterworks. And one of the things that is coming is a need for recycled water. And I know it's very expensive. I know we can't do it overnight, But what I would like to do is at least begin the groundwork and have discussions on how to begin to expand recycled water not only to our parks but into our cities. I know it's a huge lift, but I think that given the fact that the state refuses to create storage, I think that we need to begin to include that. And the other thing I'd also like to include, I really liked Greg's idea in terms of the putting out the fires. We're the #1 fire zone in the entire United States. So I'd like to discuss, what's that water storage system called? Helihydrant or helipod. I'd like to discuss putting a couple of those in if it's possible. I have no idea. But then the other thing is I'd like to have a discussion on recycled water and utilizing it, because we're about ready to get a whole bunch of recycled water from in fact, we're already getting it. But I think that I'm not talking, this isn't tomorrow, this isn't next week, but if we have a plan for the next 25 years as we're putting in infrastructure, we're doing a lot of street work. There's no well, maybe there is a reason, but at least we look at, as we break open streets, we begin to put in recycled water lines when we can. So I'd like to agendize that to at least have a discussion.
Can we have a workshop on that? Is that
Or a workshop,
amenable amendment?
whatever.
Friendly amendment?
I mean, I'm open to that. So to have a workshop on that, to talk about water. And the other thing too is ag meters. I mean, all these things we're trying to do with farm to fork farming. I think a workshop would be great.
Mayor, I think we need
Yes, I'll
clarity on the
second that.
motion.
Say again?
We need clarity on the motion.
Okay. So I make a motion that we have a workshop on recycled water and beginning to do the infrastructure for that throughout the city of Norco. And at the same time, I'd like to talk about the water storage system in the case of fires. Like it or not, I have no trust in Edison in terms of what they want to run down our throats. And in fact, one of the things that makes me frustrated about the League of Cities, just so we're clear, is that that's one of the areas we don't stick together. So we're going to have to protect ourselves in the event of a fire. I think Greg's idea is an excellent one. So we talk about that, and we talk about recycled water. Okay?
And with the use for ag, because I've had questions about that as well.
Yep.
So those would be the three topics.
Using the recycled water for agricultural uses within the city, and how we could make that work before the infrastructure is put in place.
So a water workshop that covering those topics.
Yes.
Okay, great. Please vote. And motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we are adjourned.